Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your weekly general tarot scope with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. So, this is your weekly general, the weekly general energies of and trends and themes that we're likely to be experiencing over the course of the week. As many of you know, if you've been with me long enough, it was actually you guys in collaboration with myself that actually created this. This weekly general reading actually came out of lots of the themes and the trends that we were noticing in the weekly reads. And so we decided that I would create something like this. So for those of you that have been around that long, it's probably about 3 years at this point. So you guys are my ride or dies and my hardcores, and you know I love you for it. With that said, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So, also, every week I go into my intuition and I ask for a message, the message that we need for the week. And this week I got a lot. So sometimes it's just a word, sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's a color, sometimes it's all of the above, sometimes it's like a mini movie that plays out over the course of, in my mind, basically. And this week, I got a lot of different scenes from my life, and they were all snippets of moments where I was kind of in a rush and I didn't feel like, like I could, right? And time is a funny thing for all of us, right? Especially for those of us that work or live in these kinds of, what I like to call the spiritual sciences, right? Timing techniques, etc. They're a really funny one. And so this week I find it interesting because the message that I have for you is, now that you have it, take the time to build connections, right? And there's been a few times in my life where I really wished I could stop to talk or to connect with a certain person or a certain thing, and I just didn't have the time at that moment. Whereas now, this week, right, the 23rd, right through to the 29th, now you know all planets in the sky are direct, so everything is now your fault again. You can, right, you gotta own it now. You can't blame it on the retrogrades or anything else, right? It's all our own fault, right? The beauty of this is, all of the planets in the sky are now direct. We're out of, as we start this week on the 23rd, we're out of the new moon period. And the reason that's important, there's nothing wrong with a new moon, but because there's no light by that new moon, because it's a dark moon basically, that's the period at which we do our energy work. That's the period at which we impregnate the universal energies. That's where the sun and the moon come together. So there isn't any light, right? And that is the cosmic womb, if you like, where we impregnate, we gestate, where something kind of is incepted and then it grows from there on. So the first sliver or crescent of light that you see after the new moon, that's where you make the real world or the tangible steps towards whatever it is that you've set your intentions around, etc. So you guys are watching this before the fact, which means you get to utilize this so that you can tap into that Aquarius new moon energy. And obviously this is a new moon of epic proportions. It's also the new moon that kicks off the year. So this is really, really interesting. And I want to talk about this for a moment, actually. So this is going to be a longer one than usual. The reason this is so important is, usually the Capricorn new moon is the new moon that kicks off the year. This year, at this end of the year and at the end of this year, there is no Capricorn new moon, right? This is a very big deal for so many reasons. I'm going to try to keep it short. The reason I feel like this is so powerful, right? We've had Saturn moving through signs that it rules for the last 5 years. It's going to move in March 7th, Saturn moves into Pisces. That's going to be one hell of a break for all of us. It's going to be a physical, tangible feeling of, right? So there's that. Now, the reason this is so important that we're having the first new moon of the year in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of the people. Capricorn is the sign of the government, the structures, the banking, the corporations, all the rest of it. This really says to me on a very deep level, they, and I don't care who I upset with what I'm about to say. I'm an Aquarius. Hello. Right, so unfortunately, I am going to upset the apple cart. They, the governments, the monarchies, the establishments, the corporations, all of the bigger structures, the top down, etc., that rule the world for us, that make decisions for everybody else. And seem to make those decisions based on what's good for a certain few and not so much what's good for everybody. They're not getting any more power this year. Right? They don't get to gestate anything new. There's nothing happening in Capricorn that is planting new seeds in that area. Now, if you're a Capricorn and you're watching this and you're thinking, oh shit, Raf, what about me? This isn't, yes, you're a structure unto yourself in your own life. And this isn't a dig against any Capricorn. If you've been with me long enough, you know I actually revere Capricorns. I love them very, very deeply because I feel like we can learn a lot from them. What I'm talking about here is the more sort of mundane energies. The fact that we're having an Aquarius new moon as the first new moon of this year means that what is being seeded first is what's good for us, what's good for the people, what's good for the collective. We are getting the power back, right? They've had it for millennia if we really want to start doing the digging, right? In the here and now, let's go back to 2020, we had lockdowns, they've had their run. Now it's our turn, right? And that is as much as I will go into with that. But the fact that we're starting the year with an Aquarius new moon is very telling. I think this is the year where we're going to get a lot more. And even if they try to take that from us, I don't think it's going to hold. Now, soapbox moment over. I love this. I love it. I'm totally here for it. As you can tell, right? Cheeky grin and all. This year, should I say, as we start this week, all planets are direct, which means we have this momentum. We have this push. We have this forward, powerful drive that is pushing us onwards and towards all of the things that we want to get done, all of the things that we want to accomplish, all of the things that we want to start, that we want to begin. Use this next 3-month period because it really kicks off from here. And this week is going to be the first week where we literally have everything behind us, pushing us on, spurring us forward, which means not only do we have the energy, we also have the ability to utilize the time that we have. Use it to build connections, not just connections, like in terms of working and networking. Yes, absolutely do all of that. And one of the reasons that this comes through really strong is what I saw was myself hugging people. And I've talked about this a lot. I am a natural hugger. I'm a very touchy-feely kind of person. I have to be very conscious of this because I know not everybody's like that. And for that reason, the pandemic in that regard was very hard for me because I'm naturally a very huggy sort of person. Even my really sort of burly straight guy friends, they're like, yeah, I'm not even going to try to shake your hand. Just give him a hug. It's Raf, right? So build those connections, right? Build them on the mind level, build them on the heart level, build them on the soul level. This is a really powerful week to reconnect with yourself, to use the time that you have to build those connections and to be open to what shows up for you. All right, so for our destiny card from the Human Design Oracle deck, I love these cards. So if you've been with me long enough, you know I do a fair few videos with a lady called Denise Matthew. She designed these cards. She's got a wonderful channel called Human Design HD with Denise. She's a dynamic human design expert. So we've got really, right? So we've got the Gate 24 and Returning. And the interesting thing about this card is it basically is a message to say that we're getting everything back that we maybe feel like we lost, that we, once let go of, that we dropped. Like if there's something in your life where you kind of feel like, oh, I dropped the ball with this or whatever, you're getting it all back, right? So this is wonderful. The fact that we have this card as well, you see the butterflies on there, this is a message that the blessings or the goodness of the things that you feel like maybe have eluded you are on their way back in. All right, so I am totally here for this. It also represents a time where you get back to being yourself. And so this week, a lot of us, apart from those of you that were born with a lot of retrograde energy, maybe you won't feel it like this. I really hope you do. And I kind of get the feeling that you will anyway, because you're going to be swept up in the torrent of energy that everybody else is feeling. All right, so I kind of get this feeling that we're returning back to a version of ourselves that we remember. And I was having this conversation with a good friend just last week, and we were both saying, so both of us are Aquarians. So, Saturn is really, love you, big guy, but you have, right? And we were saying, like, for the first time in a long time, like, I feel more like myself. And I think this week we are all going to be feeling that, right? And it's just going to progress and progress and progress right the way through until March, when we're going to have a crescendo or a peak of that energy. And then it will start to subside as we get into April and mid-April, because at that point we're going to start heading towards the first retrograde of the year, right? We started the year with 2 retrogrades, but all of that is done. So, like I said, this is go time, all right? I don't know. Well, I know why. I've just been really excited for this moment. I really am, and as you can tell, I'm feeling the buoyancy and the levity of it all. All right, so for our direction cards, how do we best tap into, or what might we need to look out for that we are returning to, that's coming back to us? We have the Magician card. So your personal power is on its way back into you, and this really is a time for manifesting. All right. We've got the High Priestess. Wow. Okay, so that is a very rare combination. So the High Priestess is hidden things revealed, right? But it's also deep spiritual energy. It's also very psychic energy. It's a very powerful combination. Now, this combo is a very rare combo. It doesn't come up for a lot of people, but when it does, it represents a few things. But the thing that I really want to talk about here, in terms of the direction, how do we best tap into this? If there is a course that you've been thinking of taking, astrology, numerology, studying mediumship, studying human design, studying the I Ching, whatever it is, whatever spiritual or magical, maybe you've been thinking about studying with a Wiccan mentor or a witch mentor or a magical practitioner or an astrological magical practitioner. Shout out to Sphere and Sundry. Caitlin and Austin Coppock. I'm just like in love with them as people and their whole thing. I'm not an affiliate in any way, but just Sphere and Sundry. That's the shizzle, all right? If you're thinking about studying any form of spiritual science, as I like to call them, this is the week to get started. This is the week to hunt those things down. This is the week where you'll be able to find a true master that will be able to teach you very well. And one of the meanings of this combination represents formal magical study. All right, so whatever you're planning to study, this isn't like, oh, I'm going to read a few books. Take a course, get dedicated, even if you have to get qualified. And then you've got the Ace of Swords, which is a new contract, a fresh start. So this is a fresh start in your personal power. It's also a reboot of your own intuition, and it is the start of you studying something at a much deeper level. That is how you return to, or how you really tap into this returning back to a version of yourself, by digging deeper. Remember, this is a universal year number 7, which is all about self-analysis, research, delving deeper into things. This is where it starts, all right? There's no room for surface level this year. If you've been with me long enough, you know I've been banging on about 2023 since 2019. All right, like telling people, you got to get ready, you got to be prepared, you got to And here it is, right? Here we are. No more time to prep. This is go time. You start with what you've got if you haven't already done the prep, okay? For our insight cards, what do we need to know that might be coming in? So we've got the Queen of Cups, beautiful. In this deck, it's actually called the Mother of Cups. So self-nourishment and nurturing is going to be a big part of this week. It's not just hit it, hammer and tongs, fucking yeah, caution to the wind, rah, rah, rah. It's not that. It's really not that, all right? Then we've got the Eight of Wands. So this is, for a lot of people, this is going to be a week of big connections, potentially, again, learning, teaching, all manner of courses. Shout out to Astrology with Heather, who has, she's got an astrology boot camp that is going live this week, I believe. So you absolutely want to be on board for that, because it's going to be very, very exciting. As many of you know, I've done lots of work with Heather. She's an amazing astrologer, really, really awesome human being as well. And shout out to Matt, her husband, who is also an awesome human being. So this really, it's about learning. It's about tapping back into the knowledge, the skills, and the wisdom that you have available to you in a really self-nurturing and nourishing way. It's also about building connections with people at a distance. So if you've got friends in other countries, if you've got friends in other places of the country that you live in, this is a week to really check in with your people that are further and far sort of out. Then we've got the Seven of Wands, right? So this week, I am going to tell you straight up, whatever it is that you're trying to do, whatever it is that you're studying, whatever it is that you want to take on board, whatever it is new that you want to do, this week you are, because that Seven of Wands with the Eight of Wands, you might come up with some resistance, whether this is in your local environment, whether it's from friends, or people that you're associated with. This might also be a week that really kind of says to a lot of people, yeah, this person no longer has space in my life or in my world. So it's going to be a big week of change. It's going to be a big week of shifts. It's going to be a big week of pretty much everything. This is where it all really kicks off. With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic week. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up for us. Take care, and I'll see you soon.